Assalamualaikum and hi students. We meet again for our lecture video on chapter number 5 for part 4. I will continue my discussion about this topic. Okay, entitled Example for Environmental Conservation Method. This time, I will talk about wildlife conservation method. This method means a process to protect wildlife species for both animal and plant. So, this method, based on this slide, also we want to protect another organism which is for the extinct and endangered species. What is important about this wildlife conservation method? The important about this method, it could rule in the ecosystem. It can be used for the human interest or need, and lastly, because of aesthetic idea. For the second slide, belong to this video. Okay, this one. Okay, this is one of the practice that we can use it, in wildlife conservation method. Okay, managing land resources is important to protect wildlife, such as by creation of protected area in national park. So this is one of the method we can protect our wildlife, in this world. Malaysia, for example, have 54 protected area, totally about 1,483 million hectare, or about 4.5% of the land surface of this country. This slide in this slide is shown about the location, whereby protected area and national park that located in Peninsular Malaysia only. Okay, continue our discussion about example for environmental conservation that can be done in this world. The next example of it, or the second method, which is conservation of energy. So, energy resource in this world can be found into form. The first one that we call renewable, and the second one that we call non-renewable. How can we conserve the energy resource? The first method, which is turn off light or water when not in use. Second one, drive less but more, or other ideas which later we can save our energy. Okay, right now for this slide, we want to discuss about another conservation method that we can practice in this world to protect our natural environment. Okay, this kind of conservation method that we call conservation biological control. What do we mean by conservation biological control? So, based on this slide, conservation biological control can be defined as habitat management to encourage beneficial insects and control pests that attack on our crop in agriculture. Okay, continue our discussion for the next slide, this one, conservation biological control. Now we want to talk about the concept, how we want to apply this kind of conservation approach. So the concept for this approach, we can discuss it in detail in our next slide. Okay, this slide we want to discuss about the concept, how we want to apply the conservation biological control method. Okay, based on one opinion, that stated by Dr. Robert Nicol. Okay, the opinion from these scientists, the conservation biological control concept of practice is the greatest single factor in preventing insects from overwhelming the rest of the world in the international welfare which they carry out among themselves. So this is the concept that stated inside the conservation biological control practice. This slide shows example the important about the approach in terms of economic importance for the conservation biological control. The estimated value for pest control by wild beneficial insect, or that we call natural enemy, in worldwide, is about 4.5 until 12 billion dollar US, annually for US crop, and 100 billion worldwide. So this is the important about method, how we want to protect our crop in agriculture field. Okay, for the next slide, this one. Okay, this is example of the insects. Okay, which is in the group or in the type of beneficial insect, or that we call natural enemy. This insect that we call parasitoid wasp. So this parasitoid wasp, which is a beneficial insect, that we can use it to attack any pest that attack on our crop. So our pest also is, which is insect also, which is insect. For example, this parasitoid wasp can attack another another pest which is mottled turtle beetle that can cause damage on a crop. Okay, because of the presence of these parasite wasp, which is beneficial insect, it can kill or control the population number for this pest that we call mottled turtle beetle that can harm crop. So this is one example of beneficial insect that we can use it in our conservation biological control method. Okay, students, based on this slide, conservation biological control, one of the key factors, okay, that's very important in the approach, maintain the habitat belong to the natural enemy or beneficial insect is very important. What the important about it? Because habitat could conserve beneficial insects or natural enemies or the support that attack on our crop. So this is the important part. Besides that, habitat of surrounding landscape or the crop field can influence the number of beneficial insects. Now let's move to the next slide, this one. Okay, we already discussed about the important habitat, okay, for that natural enemy or beneficial insect to control any pest attack on our crop. So this slide we want to discuss about it, but talking about the amount of natural habitat, talking about the landscape of agriculture field. So the presence of that natural habitat in terms of its large area. Okay, if that area, okay, that preserved in our agriculture field, in terms of amount larger. Okay, so this is one of the approach whereby we can conserve the habitat belong to the beneficial insect or natural enemy. Therefore, you can control the attack or damage that causes by pests that attack on our crop. Okay, students, let's discuss about this slide in terms of its information. Okay, study by BIO330 2011, it describes about the importance of habitat, okay, for the survival of natural enemy or beneficial insect in agriculture. Okay, BIO330 et al. 2011 stated that landscape complexity. So landscape complexity refers to the presence of many plant species in our agriculture field, including the plant that can be used our beneficial insect for the place for them to breed and include as the food source. Therefore, we could enhance our natural beneficial insects or our natural enemy population in 74% of the cases. Okay, next slide. Okay, now we want to discuss about the value of habitat for pest control. Research demonstrates that if more than 50% of the farm is diverse habitat, what do you mean by diverse habitat here? The presence of many plant species, the presence of many insects, include our beneficial insect, it could protect our crop from damage that produced by pests attack on it. Pest control by beneficial insects also throughout the field. So this is the impact, okay, whereby we preserve in terms of the presence of natural plant, natural insect in our crop. So therefore, you can control the impact of pests on our crop in our agricultural field as well. Okay, now. Natural habitat provide what important on natural habitat, okay, for insects, okay, especially for or specifically for our natural enemy or beneficial insects. The first one, alternate food source, because plant can provide pollen, nectar, and alternative prey as the food source for our beneficial insects. As lastly, for the place for this animal for shelter from overwintering and egg laying place. Now, okay, let's discuss about the importance of habitat for certain group of insects that we call beneficial insects. The first one, the important for the habitat to provide alternate food. Many insects eat pollen or nectar when prey are not available. Some species diet depending on their life stage. Okay, next, continue about discussion the importance of habitat as alternate food. Not as to provide the alternate foods. Okay, habitat can have alternate prey when crop pests are absent. So next, the importance of habitat for the beneficial insect, which is for the shelter, whereby that place, okay, or area can be used for the insect to protect itself from overwintering, include for the place for laying or eating. Now, let's continue our discussion about the example group of beneficial insect or natural enemy that is work that's very useful for the agriculture field. Okay, the first one, okay, let's discuss a bit about it. Okay, there's the first one that we call insect predator. Okay, for example, like ground beetle, lady beetle, assassin bug, shearfish fly, and lastwing, and other. Okay, another example of this. Okay, the second group of the beneficial insect that we call insect parasitoid. Okay, solitary work, for example, and include all the titanic fly. And the third group of beneficial insects based on this slide, okay, which is, for example, non-insect organisms. For example, like spider, predator mite, and include parasitic nematodes. Okay, continue, student, our discussion about this topic. Now we want to discuss about the first group of natural enemy or beneficial insects in agriculture. The first one that we call predator. So what the characteristics belong to the group member under these first beneficial insects. They may attack any smaller prey. Okay, they reduce pest population, even if not always below damaging level. And lastly, in terms of their characteristics, some parasitous throughout their life, either only as larvae. Okay, now continue our discussion. Okay, this slide shows the example of predator. Okay, beneficial insect that we call shearfish fly. Okay, characteristic about this organism or this insect: adapt feeds on pollen and nectar. Single larvae will eat hundreds of aphids in a week. So aphid is the pest that on crop. So this shearfish fly will attack this pest that we call aphid as therefore we can control the damage on our crop because of the attack by this pest that we call aphids. Okay, next another example of insect which is predator to another insect as the pest attack on agriculture field. They attack on crop on agriculture field. This insect that we call as lady beetle. So characteristic about this lady beetle, individual may consume as many as 5,000 aphids in their lifetime. Predatory during all their life stages. Adapt also feed on pollen and nectar. So this is characteristic in terms of predators, characteristic not like that can be used in our agriculture here as well. Okay, students, continue our discussion about the second group of beneficial insects that we can use in agriculture, whereby this kind of insect attack on another insect. Okay, when it attack on an insect, it will inject it on that prey. Okay, next characteristic based on information related about second group of beneficial insect, which is the first one, virus, wasp, and fly. So this is example of insect belong to parasitoid beneficial group of insects. Second characteristic belong to the parasitoid insect group. It laid on the specific host. Larvae feed on host, eventually killing it. Okay, for example, like the movie Aliens. Okay, small but highly effective pest control when it attack on its prey. Okay, students, let's continue our discussion about second group of beneficial insects that can be used in agriculture. Okay, the second one that we call parasitoid. Okay, based on this slide, this is a group of insects that we call parasitoid wasps that can be used to control the presence of aphids in our agriculture. Okay, among the most abundant beneficial insect on earth, which is parasitoid wasp. So this is the example of insect under the group of parasitoid that can be used to control insects, specifically to control the aphids, okay, on certain crops in agriculture field. So characteristic about these parasitic wasps, many so small in terms of size, they are difficult to see by naked eyes. Okay, individual may lay hundreds of eggs on its prey. Okay, host, Colorado, potato beetle, corn, borer, aphids, cod lemons, and many more insects, whereby the parasitic support can attack on it. Okay, next slide, this one. Okay, discussion on this slide about another example of a group of animal, a group of beneficial insects, sorry students, that we call titanic fly. So characteristic for this titanic fly, parasites of Japanese beetle, cabbage looper, and grasshopper, and many more insects can be attacked by this titanic fly. Some attract to the mating signal of their prey and stiff bristle on abdomen.